Not change the layout, but hello everyone. Alfyn here, and I'm so excited because today we're diving into the topic that a lot of people overlook. So, but it's very important, and it's life insurance. Not a lot of people want to talk about it, but it's definitely good to be knowledgeable. I know it's not the most exciting topic, but it's one that can definitely protect you, your future, your family, and everything you're working so hard for, right?
Facts.
So, for anyone that doesn't know who I have here today, Monica, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Monica Skida. Sorry, my dogs are a little crazy. I am your local notary and finance girl. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of life insurance. I'm sure you guys all have, you know, had it through your work, but honestly, your work only allows like what, $50,000 coverage. Um, that's not a lot because it's like what happens if you pass and you're like the sole provider for your family?
Yeah.
What are they going to do with $50,000 on top of your funeral costs, on top of like daily living expenses? And especially if your wife is a stay home wife or vice versa, like $50,000 these days isn't going to get you much. So, for all those people that say, oh, I have life insurance through your work, it's not enough.
And sometimes it's just through the time you're there as well. So, what happens when, things happen and you get let go, or you change work, jobs? Like, what do you do then? Right.
So, you can opt to take that policy with you. But some places they, after if you don't follow up within 30 days, then that policy's null and void and you lose it. So, um, really just kind of think outside of the box and be like, do I have enough to protect either if you own a house, if you own a business, if you have children, if you have a house, payment, if you have car payments, anything, any types of loans, when you pass away, those payments still keep coming, regardless if you're living or dead, and that's another burden that's for your family. And so, like I said, with $50,000, that is not much. You always want to multiply your annual income by what was it, 100, to get that number of like what would be sufficient for your family. Um, so, you know, that's just some food for thought. And then a lot of people think, oh, like, oh, I have too many health issues. Like, I'm not going to be able to qualify. Okay, if you already know that and you've tried, like, I'd be more than happy to try for you again. Obviously, your premium is going to be a little bit higher, but you can always set up for final expenses. And that's also another solution, like where you know for sure that, you know, um, even for final expenses, their packages, I think, go up to like 150,000. So that would help cover your, obviously, your final expenses. And then anything thereafter, that pertains to your family that can help you get through the next year or so until your family is able to get back on their feet. Because like it's not a topic that people don't want to think about, but in reality it's like the only thing that we are guaranteed in this life is death. Like that's something that we cannot escape, whether it comes naturally, whether it comes tragically, whatever the case may be. That's one thing that we as humans cannot avoid is death. So
100%. So let's start from the top. For anyone who's watching or who's never thought about it, which is life insurance, or maybe they think it's only for older people, or how would you explain why it's actually something to look at like right now?
the younger you are, the higher, like the better your premium and your rates are, because in a perfect world, when you're younger, you're healthier, you're less, I guess, risk. So, and the good thing is if you continue and you maintain that policy, that rate locks in, until you no longer have that policy. Sorry about that.
Is
And
that
then,
your puppy?
yeah, it's Lola. She's playing outside and then running inside. So it's always better to start younger, because you lock in at those premium rates. So say like Say, for example, Alfyn is 23 and she's like, oh, I want to submit for a policy. She's clean bill of health. Everything's great. She's going to get great premium rates. And then say like now she's current day, say 32, and she has like now diabetes, high cholesterol, and something else. Her premium is not going to change because of her new diagnosis, because she's been able to carry that policy since she was 23 to now. She's not going to have to, her rates are not going to increase. So that's the great benefit of starting a policy early, is that, in case any other diagnosis come up, God forbid it's cancer, God forbid it's something else, it's not going to affect your policy. You're going to be able to be locked in at that rate from when you started. Um, Also for kids, if you have little ones, it's great to start them a policy now,
Mm-hmm.
because if you get them an IUL, which I absolutely love, you're basically accumulating future money for them. So you're going to be growing that little nest egg on top of, so it's like I always say, it's a savings account with life insurance. So you're accumulating those funds and it's going to be growing and growing and growing. And then by the time they're 18, when they're adults, whether they want to use it for school or whether they want to use it for trade school or whatever the case may be, or buy a house, they have access to that money and it's going to multiply substantially. And we never go against the stock market, so it's not going to crash. And at worst case scenario, if it doesn't increase, it'll stay level, but you'll never lose. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So, for those who are watching now or later, who might say, hey, Monica, I can't afford it right now, what's one thing you want them to know about the real cost or the value of having insurance in place like now?
I mean, if anything else, like start at least with the term policy. It's going to be your cheapest bang for your buck, and it, at least if something were to happen to you, like your family is covered at least in something. But you always want to have a policy, whether it's right now, if that's all you can afford is the one from your work, then that's what it is. But it's not enough for your family to sustain. I would always say at least start small. You can always accumulate, you can always grow that account, that policy. But at least start now and get yourself covered, get your family covered, whether you're single, you're married, whatever the case may be. It's not for old people. Like, it's better to have it and start it when you're young and
Yeah,
you're healthy and you're active, versus when you're not. But I mean, I can't stress more enough to at least get a policy started. Whether, I mean, we can find policies for you as low as, $35 a month. Nowadays, that's like two people going to Jack in the Box. I mean, and that's only one trip. So if you can afford that, you can afford a simple policy at least to get you started. And then when you're ready to grow that little nest egg, then so be it.
absolutely. And you're talking some terms, and I know for people that are not used to hearing term, IUL and stuff like that. Can you give a little bit of an idea or break it down what the different terms are, like whole term, universal, IUL, stuff like that?
So term is basically what it stands for. Term. Your That policy eventually is going to terminate. So if you get like a 30-year term, you're paying on that policy for 30 years, and then once it's done, it's done. Like, all that money you've inverted, it's done. If you outlive that policy, you're done. The only way you'll kind of get that money is if on a term policy is if you die, then your beneficiary is going to get, that portion of your policy what it was worth. So whether it was like, I'm again just using examples, if it was just 20,000 or 100,000, they're going to get that after you die.
Hmm.
With an IUL, which is my favorite, it's basically a savings plan with life insurance. So, say you have a savings account in your bank and you're doing like $100 per month. So instead of putting it into your savings account where you're only going to get like 0.3% interest rate versus anywhere from 6 to 20% in an IUL, that's going to go accumulating. So you're going to be adding to that money, and say your policy is like for $250,000. So your family is going to get the 250,000 plus the money you've put into that savings account. Or you can also, which is amazing with an IUL, it's you can use it what's called living benefits. So say next year you want to go on a vacation, or your kid needs braces, or you need a new car, you're able to access that money without penalty because you, excuse me, you've already kind of basically pre-funded that account um,
Mhm.
with the money that you've been accumulating for, and so you've already paid taxes on it. So you're able to take that money and use it in life. That's why they're called living benefits. So term is great to start if that's where we're at, but eventually you want to get to an IUL. And if you can't do neither of the two because of your health conditions or whatnot, then you have final expenses, which is solely what it is for when you actually die.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into timing a little bit because a lot of people think they can just do it later. I feel like that's one of the most common responses.
Hmm.
Why is the best time to get started now instead of waiting, really?
Like I said, we're never guaranteed tomorrow. So something can literally happen in a blink of an eye. And if you haven't signed up, like, that's another hit to your family. But we can get you started, get you covered probably within 30 days. And whenever that policy goes in effect, so say we sign you up, Alfin, and we have your policy rolling, and something happens to you on that day, like after your policy's in effect, you're covered. So like I said, we're never guaranteed tomorrow. So who
Mhm.
knows what happens? So it's always better to start now than later because we're never guaranteed later.
100%. Definitely so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And also for everyone that's watching, this is your reminder. Don't wait until it's too late, you know, to plan for the people you love, for your future. If you'd like to connect with Monica and learn some more, send a quick message or even drop in the comments below what you'd like to know. Or, if you've been thinking about it, you want to get connected, drop a comment, leave her a message. And other than that, Monica, do you have any final words or
No,
thoughts?
I mean, like I said, we protect our iPhones, we protect our cars, we protect our houses. Like, why not protect ourselves and our families? Like, again, I'd never thought of this until I became an adult, but it's things that we don't think about and things that we take for granted because when it's too late, it's too late, you know?
Mm,
So, definitely something to think about.
Here, okay, here we go. Well, thank you again for everyone for tuning in. And Monica, thank you for sharing your heart and
Thank
also
you.
your wisdom with us. And we'll see you till next live.